Hello and welcome to SketchQuest. We here at TYG have collected some of the most talented artists within our reach to create this series as we work towards improving our artistic skills. Come join us and begin your journey today. Your legend starts here. But before we can paint for the gods, it's time to start with some basics. And don't worry if you're only just starting out, because I'll be learning alongside you. And remember, if you want to share your creations with us, use the hashtag SketchQuest. Let's see what today's quest is, shall we? We are back for another quest from J.L.P., VTuber and illustrator extraordinaire. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Always. What is our quest for today?
Today we're going to learn how to draw mouths by breaking down the proportions and giving you a simple way to be able to hopefully draw them.
Ooh.
So we're going to refer back to the face once again. If you've been watching these episodes, you've probably seen this face quite a bit now, but we're just going to go over the proportions of where the mouth should be again. In the last episode, we worked out the proportion of the nose should sit on 3/4 of the face here. And we can take that line and then split it into two from the chin and the nose here, and that roughly should be where the mouth in the middle should be. And then an easy way to find where the edges of the mouth should line up. This is just how I do it, but you can line them up with roughly where the pupil should sort of be if you're looking straight forward. I know that's not an easy way to tell for everyone, but it's just a way that helps me. So mouths can be really complex, and we're going to do a similar thing to what we did in the last episode and break them down into 3 simple circles.
3 simple circles?
Yeah. So in our last episode when we were drawing noses, we drew a big circle with 2 little circles. And this time we're going to make the circles all the same size. But the difference is we're going to make the top circle a bit higher and 2 circles below it like that. Kind of like a triangle shape. This would be an example of a face forward view, and this is how it might look if you were doing it from a 3/4 view from the side. And it'll look a bit complex next, but then we can lower the opacity and start adding the details. So I will go through this with you because I know it looks a bit scary. So let's lower the opacity. Good place to start is the bit in the middle here. We can follow the top circle at the bottom, and that's going to give us our top, the inside of our top lip. And then we can carefully follow along the curves of the bottom circles here. And then we can place where we want our outer corners of the mouth to be, and then connect them like so. And that's the inside line of our mouth done. We can then use the circle here to show where the Cupid's bow will be. There's lots of different shapes of Cupid's bow, so you can draw which one you want. I personally like to draw a little triangle one. And then we can now connect the lines here in between the triangle we made for the Cupid's bow to the outer corners of the lips here. And then when drawing the bottom of the lip, you want to keep these 2 circles in mind at the bottom here. And you can draw a line between them like so. You can make it a little curved if you want, or straight if you want, it doesn't matter. And then you then connect that line to the corner of the lip again. Like so. And that's how we can draw our lips. And we can also do this with the side profile here. Going under the bottoms of the top circle first, finding where we want the points of the lip to be for the mouth corners, and then following the lines to meet them. like so. And that's a easier way to draw lips. You might have to practice this a few times, and that's fully okay. So you should have something like this. If you want the lips to look a little more defined, you can add little corners here to the top circle at the bottom there, and that just helps show where the lips will meet, and you can add a little shadow there as well. Similarly, you can do this on the 3/4 view as well, like so. And when you've done that, you should have something that looks like this. So lips can be a bit complex when it comes to shading, because lips technically are part of a cylindrical shape that would go like this.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have your nose up here, obviously. So when we're drawing the shading for the lips, we have to keep in mind that the cylinder shape for each lip. So if we draw in the cylinders like this and shade them, they should look something like this, and this can help give a rough idea of where the shading should go. So you can see this part here on the top lip at the bottom will have the darkest bit of the lip, and you can see here at the top of the bottom lip and the bottom of the bottom lip there'll be a bit dark shading there as well. You can also see where the highlight should be. So we can see at the top of the top lip and the middle of the bottom lip. That's where we should be putting our light parts. So when it's fully shaded, it should look something like this. So my way I would go about shading this is I would actually start doing it all one color, just to give it a base color to work off. You want this usually to be like a mid-tone. I'll go over what I was doing. Like this. I usually like to make the top lip a little lighter than the bottom lip. However, I've seen some artists do this where they like the top lip to be darker than the bottom. It's really up to you.
Well,
I think I just like the bottom one to stand out a little bit more. So you should have something like that.
Oops.
I think when doing a base layer, try and keep the brush at full opacity, and then if you go over it, it's not going to leave any like shading kind of look. You just want to be able to create a flat base for it.
Get rid of my lens, though. I did it all on
Okay.
one layer, that's why.
Yeah, if you can do the line art separate layer
Yeah.
to the shading, it really helps.
I will
It's
quickly.
but there is definitely a room for being able to draw all on the same layer, but it is quite tricky to start off with. So drawing the multiple
Incredibly.
layers kind of leaves room to
Yes.
help with that. So we could see from our cylinder, I'm just going to use an airbrush personally, but you can use whichever brush you're most comfortable with for shading. We can see the dark part's going to be where the lips meet here, so we can add some shading onto the inner part of the upper lip here. And then we can grab a slightly darker color to start shading the bottom lip inner part here. Then we can also, just gonna make my brush a little bigger just to blend the shading out a little bit. It's also gonna have some shading at the bottom here. And then we can go and have some fun with the highlights. So we know that the highlights are gonna be in the middle of the lip, roughly around here. You can draw them how you're most comfortable with. Some people like to do them like, kind of like, I guess it reminds me of a sun in a way, like sunbeams, which is really cute. Some people like doing a full line. Some people like doing just a little bit and a circle as well. It fully depends on like what you're most comfortable with. So then we're gonna take a lighter color and then we can create some shading at the top here. Again, you can do kind of any shading you like. I personally just like to do a circle and a little line, the top lip. Kind of creates like a glossy effect. And then if we want to have some shading around the lip, I'm just going to create a layer below the lip layer that we worked on to show where the skin kind of should be. Just going to make that a light grey. And this is just a little tip, but I think that making the corners of the lips brighter at the top tends to make the lips stand out a bit. Similarly, you can add some highlights on the cupid's bow here, and then we can add some shading underneath the lip corners here and underneath the lips where our chin would be, which has usually a pretty strong shadow. And there we have our lips.
Yay!
We can also use this technique for the 3/4 view as well. Let me just copy and paste it quick.
Let me just check I'm on the correct layer.
It's alright. Always check you're on the right layer, otherwise it's very sad. So we can use our base again here, and I'm just going to repeat the same process of adding our base color with a hard brush to get those colors really in there so that we can easily add some shading on top. And then we can start adding the shadows in again. I just like to add the shadows first. I know there's a lot of artists that add the highlights first, and I think that's completely okay. It's whatever you're most comfortable with. I think for me, when I do shadows, it just gives like a good foundation of where the highlights should be.
Oh, I get you.
But if you feel more comfortable doing the highlights first to be able to then put the shadows in, that's completely fine as well.
I've done that way dark. Let's just blend you out a bit.
And then I'll just add the highlights to the skin. It's just my personal preference. I just think it really makes it pop in our artwork. Well, in my artwork. just want to follow the shape of the chin, which will probably be more kind of triangle shape as it's facing away from us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I really like what you've done where you've like almost accentuated the Cupid's bow.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely do that as well. That looks really good. And that helps give some structure to the piece as well, which is really helpful.
I wish anything I did was on purpose.
No, it looks so good. A lot of the time, we kind of know how things should look in our heads. So a lot of the time when you think you're adding something, it's because you probably have seen it and recognize it. So you should definitely trust your intuition when you're drawing because your brain knows best, for sure. Eventually, when you start getting drawing a lot more, you kind of draw out of muscle memory. So you really want to learn to rely on what your brain is telling you to do and evaluating if that's a good thing for your art. So you're doing a really great job of that.
Thank you.
And if you don't like the shape of the lips, because we have just done it in one shape, you can always change them as well. There's lots of different lip shapes that we can do. So Mashi here has a few different kinds of lip shapes. We can see that there are more rounded lip shapes where the Cupid's bow isn't as defined, and there's different kinds of Cupid's bows as well that you can play around with. So have fun and mess around with when you're drawing lips. Make sure to always look at different references and different lips as well. Some lips might have a smaller upper lip or a smaller lower lip, and some lips might be quite rounded in how they look as well. So it's really good to learn all different kinds of lip shapes because when we're drawing characters, we might want to make them look a bit more individual. And a great way to do that is by changing up like simple things like the eye shape or the lip shape or even the nose shape. It's really helpful in character design.
It makes them distinct.
So this might be an example of how a rounder lips might look. Like that. So our quest for today is to learn to draw different kinds of lips, have fun and explore different shapes. And I hope this method really helped you to be able to have a starting point of drawing lips if you maybe are struggling, or an easier way of drawing them.
I've definitely learned a lot. And remember to share your creations with #SketchQuest. We look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Remember to follow JLP on all the social medias. Get dropping those follows and likes if you've enjoyed our content today. Until then, we'll see you all later, taters. Bye.
Bye.